perfect. Nobody's perfect. But the term perfect here does not mean without blemish or flaw or mistake. The word perfect here means mature. Mature. Jesus is speaking about a grown-up love. A mature love. And a mature love is needed on this planet. Why? Because we keep handing out so much childish, conditional love to each other. We childishly spurn one another, avoid one another, talk about each other, speak all manners of evil about each other. We judge each other. Why? Probably because we got the same treatment from others. It's this childish practice of conditional love that spreads this noose around generation to generation as we conditionally force others to earn our love. And I think Peter suggested as much when he wrote to his persecuted community these words. Above all, he starts it out, meaning, listen, this is the quintessential point. I want you to get this. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. I don't expect unconditional love to be exhibited and manufactured by unchurched people towards me, or even by people of other faiths towards me, but from people who bear the name of Christ as their spiritual identity, have seen and personally experienced the unconditional love of Jesus. I would expect a high level of agape being practiced among you. See, I think that it is virtually impossible to be a vital community of Christians without that demonstration of agape. I mean, you can have the sharpest vision that's ever been. You can have the most inspiring worship that ever was. You can have the most transforming testimony about your weakness to others, and you can be the most adaptive community that ever existed on the face of the earth. But if you do not have love, it's pointless. No vitality. None. How did this happen to us? Where did this insidious idea creep in? Did it come from some deep, dark corner from the pit of hell itself? That the practice of grown-up, mature love, agape, unconditional love towards other people was to be lived out by others, but not by me. I don't have to do that. It got me wondering, how is it that different people with different levels of emptiness in their inner being, but have come to have this common experience among themselves of a God who has loved them endlessly and unconditionally? How is it that somehow that group of people, by grace, can suddenly begin to demonstrate grown-up love to such an extent that all the hypocritical behavior among us is smothered out? So that this practice of saying that we love God whom we cannot see, while we hold conditional love to people that we can see, is lived out on a day-by-day basis. How can that be stopped? I got to wondering about that. And what happened by way of a gift of grace from God was this. I was busy doing my devotions in the morning, and I got on a website I go to really infrequently, but when I feel like I'm starved for it, I go there. It's called Bethel Church in California. And Bill Johnson was preaching, and I had this videotape, and I was watching it. And he started quoting, reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4th verse, that magnificent letter by Paul on love. And he honed in on one little tiny verse, and here it was. Love is patient. And then he began to explain that that word patience comes from 2 Greek words, long and passion. And then he explained that it's God's unconditional love of us that postpones his judgment of us. Had I done likewise, I was killed. I shook with grief. God was so patient with his disciples. He postponed judgment on them at every single corner, even though there were times when he was so exasperated with them he couldn't stand it. How long must I bear this generation? He would cry out loud. But John reminds us, having loved his own, he loved them to the end. And so he gathered them that evening, the last night he was going to have with them. And he said to them, a new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. If. Maybe Jesus knew all along how impatient and how judgmental we would become. I just wish he hadn't said, if. As we sing our last song, and as we conclude our time spent in this Bible series, we invite you, if you would like to spend a moment, come down front and kneel a moment, and maybe it could cover a wide variety of personal needs today. Maybe it's vision you want God to impart to you. Maybe your worship hasn't been as inspiring to God as you would want. You know, maybe you've been wanting to share that transformation that God's worked in you with another person that you've been frightened to open up your heart to them. Maybe we just haven't been as adaptive as we wanted to be. And maybe you want to take the if out of your love. We invite you to come down as this last song.